The argument after the Open controversy may still be happening nowhere near Royal Birkdale. Rory McIlroy attacked Bryson. Players leaked opinions. Social media built camps. Brian Rolapp remained quiet. The PGA Tour avoided the question. That question is getting louder now. Rory did not support Bryson's penalty quietly. He called him performative, admitted he was not fond of him, and accused him of holding the tournament hostage. It was the kind of takedown golfers save for private rooms. Then an older feud resurfaced. McIlroy had called Rolapp's Challenger Series a glorified Corn Ferry event. Rolapp pushed back and revealed they had spoken. Now a dispute over power, rules, and control has landed at Rory's feet. So does Rory demand answers from Brian Rolapp behind closed doors? Source has confirmed that confrontation. However, the silence gives fans room to ask why Rolapp has not addressed the leadership problem Rory's outburst exposed. Bryson is the villain. Rolapp is the man with institutional power. Rory has placed himself between them. That is the bombshell nobody expected. Subscribe and tell me who you trust before the truth changes your answer. Now let us follow the whispers back to their source. The whispers begin with the part nobody can see. The private conversation between McIlroy and Rolapp. Rolapp confirmed that conversation took place after Rory dismissed the planned Challenger Series, but neither man released a transcript. That empty space allows every later disagreement to feel connected, even when the institutions involved are separate. The R&A governed the Open. Rolapp runs the PGA Tour. He had no authority over Bryson's penalty at Royal Birkdale. Yet Rory's words placed a larger question over both organizations. Who protects the standards of elite golf when its biggest personalities stop trusting the people making decisions? Rory entered that argument with the status of an established champion whose opinions travel farther than most players' drives. His Nike clothing and tailor-made equipment reinforce a commercial image built over years of major victories, painful defeats, and public responsibility. He has repeatedly spoken when other leading players preferred safer answers. That instinct made him one of the PGA Tour's loudest defenders during the battle with LIV Golf. It also left him carrying scars from decisions he did not control. Hunger keeps Rory chasing trophies, while heartbreak keeps pulling him toward arguments that feel larger than a scorecard. Bryson entered from the opposite direction. His identity comes from challenging accepted methods. He rebuilt his body, treated distance as an engineering problem, turned his YouTube presence into a direct line to fans, and moved to LEV, while golf's establishment condemned the breakaway league. Reebok's partnership with Bryson and Crusher's GC strengthened the image of a golfer who does not need traditional approval. His supporters see independence, his critics see performance. That collision between Rory's wounded authority and Bryson's calculated rebellion made one rules decision combustible before either man addressed it publicly. The decisive moment began on the fifth hole during Bryson's second round. Video showed him pressing down long grass behind his ball in the area of his intended backswing. Officials determined that the action improved conditions affecting the stroke, which brought Rule 8.1 into play. The violation did not require proof that Bryson intended to cheat. The R&A treated the act as accidental and still applied 2 strokes. His apparent 66 became a 68, moving him farther from the halfway lead at a major where every shot carried enormous value. Bryson did not accept the outcome quietly. He returned to the location with officials, argued his case, and continued the discussion after completing his round. Final confirmation took almost 80 minutes after he left the 18th green. Saturday's tee times could not be settled normally while his status remained uncertain. Reports also indicated that withdrawal was considered before he confirmed he would continue. The technical ruling had become a test of influence because an ordinary player rarely has enough attention around him to freeze a major championship schedule. Then the online post appeared. Bryson confirmed that he would play, and his supporters treated the message as an act of defiance. Video of the incident circulated. Beside close views of the flattened grass, some fans saw an obvious breach, others saw selective enforcement created by television coverage, since every shot from a star is recorded, while lesser-known players receive far less scrutiny. Social media stopped acting like a reaction board and became a second rules committee, except this committee had no shared standard and no reason to wait for complete evidence. The division reached the players. Max Homa defended Bryson's integrity and made clear that he did not view him as a deliberate cheat. Xander Schauffele considered the punishment harsh and questioned how the situation was communicated. Russell Henley raised the uncomfortable possibility that a famous player could face scrutiny that another competitor might escape. Their comments did not erase the rule. They shifted the human question from what Bryson did to whether fame had changed the way his action was discovered, judged, and punished. Rory ended that debate with a declaration. He said he would not pretend to defend Bryson, admitted he was not particularly fond of him, and described much of his behavior as performative and designed for attention. His sharpest phrase accused Bryson of holding the tournament hostage while players, volunteers, and officials waited. Rory supported the two-stroke penalty because the grass had been improved, regardless of whether the action was careless or intentional. That press conference became the viral moment because Rory converted a complicated rule into a verdict about character. The attack gave fans an immediate hero and villain. Rory looked like the champion defending the institution from a celebrity who refused to accept a ruling. Bryson looked like the challenger testing whether authority could withstand his audience, influence, and willingness to push back. Yet the framing also exposed Rory, calling a rival performative while delivering the tournament's most replayed press conference, invited accusations that McIlroy understood attention as well as anyone. His honesty strengthened the message, but the personal dislike made impartiality impossible. Royal Birkdale supplied the fall after both men had been built into central figures. Bryson entered Sunday close enough to imagine a charge, then failed to win. Rory never created the sustained run required to challenge for the claret jug and finished at 1 under after a final round 71. Ryan Fox took the championship while two larger celebrity brands dominated discussion around a trophy neither controlled. The result mattered because golf had rewarded the quieter performance while its loudest stars fought over conduct. That contrast carried the whispers away from Bryson and toward Rolapp. Rory had shown that he would challenge a rival in public when he believed standards were being weakened. The unanswered question was whether he used the same force against the executive redesigning the tour he once defended. Nothing from Royal Birkdale proves that Rory contacted Rolapp afterward. The pressure comes from an older dispute that had never disappeared. To understand why the demand feels believable, the timeline has to move back to the moment Rory stopped sounding like the PGA Tour's loyal spokesman. The fracture became public before the U.S. Open when Rory discussed the two-series model being developed under Rolapp. The plan was intended to reorganize the PGA Tour beginning in 2028. A championship series would concentrate leading players in stronger events. A challenger series would run alongside it, preserve opportunities for a broader membership, and offer routes into the top level. Tour leaders presented the change as a clearer, competitive system for fans, sponsors, and players. Rory heard a hierarchy that could reduce established tournaments to second-class status. For Rory, that proposal threatened the balance between rewarding excellence and preserving the tournaments that made elite careers possible. His response carried the same blunt instinct later aimed at Bryson. Rory called the second track a glorified Corn Ferry event. He used the Canadian Open as his example because a historic national championship could lose stature if placed below the Premier Series. He warned that certain tournaments might depend on sponsors producing much larger financial commitments. The criticism struck at Rolapp's central promise. A structure sold as protection for the wider tour sounded, through Rory's language, like a polished demotion. That unresolved tension matters because Rolapp needs stars to legitimize his new model, while Rory needs a functioning tour strong enough to support the legacy he fiercely protects during commercial change. Rory also connected the redesign to LIV Golf's effect on money. He argued that LIV had created a false economy, forcing the PGA Tour to increase purses, reduce fields, and concentrate rewards around its best players to prevent further departures. That reaction made sense when LIV posed an immediate threat. Rory's frustration came from watching emergency measures harden into a permanent future after that threat appeared less powerful. The champion who defended the tour during its crisis now questioned whether leaders had learned the wrong lesson from the war. Rolapp did not ignore the criticism. He confirmed speaking with Rory and rejected the comparison with the Corn Ferry Tour. His defense rested on recognizable venues, healthy purses, familiar PGA Tour members, and promotion opportunities linking the two series. The total schedule would remain broad, but its competitive order would become easier to understand. From Rolapp's perspective, the tour was not abandoning players. It was organizing roughly the same ecosystem into a product that partners and viewers could follow more clearly. That answer addressed the structure without eliminating Rory's concern. A tournament can retain a purse, a venue, and a field while losing cultural importance when the largest names compete elsewhere during the same week. Fans understand hierarchy immediately. Sponsors understand television audiences even faster. Rory's warning was not really about whether challenger events would exist. It concerned what those events would mean once the championship series claimed the best players, largest stages, and strongest commercial attention. The private call, therefore, became more important after the Open. Rory had challenged Rolapp over the future, then challenged Bryson over conduct. Both disputes revolved around the same fear. Golf was allowing influence to outrun accountability. Bryson possessed a personal media machine capable of turning a penalty into a movement. Rolapp possessed institutional power capable of turning commercial priorities into a new competitive order. Rory stood between them as a superstar whose authority came from performance, popularity, and years spent defending the existing tour. This is where the title reaches its honest meaning. No verified evidence shows Rory issuing Rolapp a post-Open ultimatum, requesting an investigation, or arranging another confrontation. The demand exists in the public questions created by Rory's own record. Why did a major need almost 80 minutes to settle a visible rules issue? Why could one player's uncertainty delay plans affecting an entire field? Why should historic PGA Tour events accept reduced status while executives promise that nothing valuable is being lost? Rolapp cannot answer the first two as the R&A's decision-maker, but he represents the leadership culture receiving Rory's challenge. Bryson remains the hungry challenger because resistance is his natural position. The penalty threatened more than 2 strokes. It threatened the analytical identity that tells his followers every variable can be measured, explained, and contested. Accepting the decision without resistance would have contradicted the brand he built. Rory remains the established champion because he guards meaning rather than procedure. His hunger demands that majors retain authority. His heartbreak makes every leadership failure look like another burden transferred onto players who already carried the sport through division. Social media enlarged that difference. Bryson's audience treated direct communication as proof that traditional media no longer controlled his story. Rory's press conference clip traveled through the same platforms and became more powerful than any official statement. Fans edited the conflict into short verdicts, selected heroes, and assigned motives before the tournament ended. The platforms rewarded certainty, so Rory's most severe phrases beat every careful explanation of Rule 8.1. That is why performative became a weapon. It reduced Bryson's entire protest to a celebrity act and allowed viewers to judge personality instead of grass. The brand surrounding both men made the conflict feel even larger. Rory represents premium continuity through Nike and TaylorMade, companies attached to a champion whose image survives triumph and collapse. Bryson represents disruption through Live, Crushers, GC, Reebok, and a digital following built around access. Their disagreement became a contest between two versions of modern golf. Rolapp's proposed structure sits between those versions, trying to make elite competition more valuable without making the rest of the tour look disposable. The villain label therefore changes as the truth arrives. Bryson was the villain in Rory's Open account, because his protest delayed others and placed personal grievance above tournament order. Rolapp becomes the institutional antagonist because his redesign gives Rory another reason to question who benefits when golf concentrates power. Rory plays the hero only if viewers believe his bluntness protects traditions that executives and celebrities are willing to trade. Viewers who see self-interest will interpret the same actions as a superstar demanding influence without accepting responsibility for the consequences. The final result offers no secret letter, hidden ultimatum, or confirmed demand delivered behind closed doors. It offers something more believable: public pressure built from two verified confrontations. Rory challenged Rolapp's plan before the Open. He challenged Bryson's behavior during it. Those moments combine into a demand for answers because each asks leadership to explain where authority ends and celebrity begins. Rolapp did not create the Royal Birkdale controversy, but he now leads a tour that must decide how personalities like Rory and Bryson fit inside its future. Ryan Fox left with the claret jug. Bryson left with supporters who believed he had been treated unfairly. Rory left with another quote that ensured the argument would follow everyone home. Rolapp inherited the question without attending the fight. That is the bombshell beneath the gossip. The real confrontation is not one secret meeting. It is an open struggle over who gets to define professional golf when champions, challengers, executives, sponsors, and online audiences all claim ownership. Subscribe if you want golf stories that separate the verified facts from the whispers without draining the tension from either. Then tell me your final verdict. Was Rory defending the game, attacking Bryson, warning Rolapp, or protecting his own place at the center of golf's future?